membrane. Look how thin it is. Why should the respiratory membrane be thin? Gas exchange, the mechanism of gas exchange is diffusion. Diffusion is more rapid over shorter distances, right? So you can't have a thinner membrane. Simple squamous epithelium of a capillary, simple squamous epithelium of an alveolus. Two cells sitting right next to each other, basement membrane connecting them. It is so tiny, 1/10 of a micrometer. That's pretty tiny. I don't know how tiny that is. Tiny, right? And so now things diffuse very rapidly across here, or the potential is there for that to be rapid, is because they are so thin. So that's the respiratory membrane. That's where gas exchange occurs. You have to do ventilation to move air in and out of the alveolus. You have to have that ventilation coupled in time, right, with blood flow through the pulmonary capillaries. So this ventilation, perfusion is blood flow through the tissue. Ventilation of alveoli, perfusion of pulmonary capillaries, that has to be matched, right? You want the blood flow to be in sync with the airflow. So if the ventilation goes up, what does the blood flow have to do? It has to go up. If the ventilation goes down, the blood flow has to go down. Otherwise, they're mismatched. Okay. Now, so let's look at the significance of all of this. Now, I don't know if you remember this or not, but remember when you were you ever tried to blow up a balloon when you were a little kid? And remember, like, when you were really young, it was really hard to do, right? But if you handed it to your parents or an older sibling or whatever, they would start it, and then you could blow it up the rest of the way. Remember that? Is that true? Yeah. Why is that true? What are they helping? What did they help you overcome with regard to that that balloon?
The volume can increase?
Yeah, they helped you increase the volume. Yeah.
So the pressure?
Well, kind of, except the blowing up of a balloon is different. We're actually increasing the pressure inside as it stretches. But what made it hard to start? Resistance due to the rubber, right, which is, what do you call that? What are you trying to overcome? Elasticity, right. So what made it difficult, if you have something that's elastic and you let it fully relax, okay, that initial elasticity is difficult to overcome. It takes a lot of force to overcome the initial elastic recoil, but once it started stretching, then it's easier to stretch it the rest of the way. Now, is lung tissue, can you stretch lung tissue? And does it return back to its original shape when you're done? Yes. So it is stretchable, they call it extensible, and it's also elastic. So this is true here as well. That, let's pretend that these are my two choices. There's my lung like that. Here's my lung like this. And I want to blow it up, if you will. Which one of these is easier to blow up? The one that's fully relaxed or the one that's partially stretched? Yeah, this one is easier. So this is, if these were your lungs, at rest, when you're not ventilating but just at rest, what shape should they be in? They should be like this, right? Then what do? Then I can make them bigger, so easier to inhale, or smaller. Here, if I want to put air in, it's hard to get from here to here, so I can stretch it even more. So this would be analogous to a lung collapse. We call it atelectasis. That's a lung collapse, atelectasis. And the significance of atelectasis is that if I wanted to inflate this collapsed lung, I would have to have a huge volume change to generate enough pressure difference to blow it up, to inflate it. My body can't do that. I can only create small changes in volume to create small changes in pressure. So I have to start partially inflated. So we need to have anatomies in place that help prevent lung collapse. Because if the lung collapses, then I know I can't do ventilation because I can't generate enough pressure gradient. Is that okay? So what is it? How can I prevent the lung from collapse? The lung tissue is elastic. It wants to do this. It wants to take this shape. So how can I prevent that? Well, if I take the lung, again, I'll just draw a simple one like this. Remember, this is going to be kind of magnified over millions of tiny little alveoli in here, but conceptually it's easier to think about it that way. So if I put it like that, then I put a pleural membrane around it. So let's put our pleural membrane around it. And the pleural membrane is a double membrane, and it's closed back on itself like this. Okay. So the picture's showing you kind of there with like two different balloons how you might make it, right? But it looks like this. So it is a totally separate container that goes around the lung. And the right lung and the left lung have their own pleural membrane. So they're independent of each other. And so now these two layers, this layer, this internal layer right here, that's now the visceral pleura. And this layer outside here, that is the parietal pleura. Okay? You all right with that? So we've got a visceral pleura and a parietal pleura in this pleural membrane. It kind of looks like that. So I had talked about all that was on those slides before, but what I want to show you now is, or the story I'm trying to get to is